Let's begin today with a 1-minute hook that pulls viewers directly into the world of forgotten survival materials. The kind that didn't just keep people alive, but actually shaped strategy, engineering and fieldcraft across an era defined by secrecy and necessity. During the Cold War, military engineers weren't interested in gimmicks. They needed materials that performed under freezing rain, artillery shockwaves and weeks of exposure in forests, coastlines and mountainous borderlines. Most people today rely on cheap tarps that tear in a single season, plastic sheets that flap themselves to death in the wind, or fabrics that swell, rot and shred under UV light. But hidden inside declassified manuals and the kit lists of scouts, spies and field teams is, well, one of the most stormproof fabrics ever produced, a cloth that civilians have nearly forgotten. The funny thing is that this material didn't look flashy. It didn't promise miracles. It simply worked, and kept working, long after tarpaulins, canvas and nylon polyhybrids had failed. And today, we're bringing it back into the light. Because if you're interested in history, bushcraft, military engineering or preparedness, this Cold War cloth deserves a place in your gear and your homestead. Now it's time to step directly into the valuable information. So stay with me. Why Cold War engineers chose Ventile when tarps failed. The cloth I'm talking about is Ventile, developed in the 1940s but perfected and widely deployed across early Cold War decades. On paper, it's nothing special, just long staple cotton. But the secret wasn't the fibre, it was the weave. Each thread was combed long, tightly twisted, and woven so densely that when exposed to water, the fibres swelled and locked together, forming a near-waterproof barrier without coatings, laminations or plastics. Tarps rely on synthetics or rubberizing to resist moisture, but the moment they're punctured, the integrity collapses. Ventile took the opposite route. Its waterproofing activated under moisture, meaning that storm conditions made it stronger. This single feature is why Cold War pilots wore it during Arctic flights, why submarine crews trusted it during surface storms, and why scientists stationed in remote outposts carried it instead of plasticized material. One way modern viewers can apply this knowledge is by selecting natural fabrics that function mechanically, not chemically. Ventile did not peel, did not delaminate, and did not decay under UV exposure like modern synthetics. For homesteaders building lean-to shelters, pack covers, or rain smocks, finding or making a tight-weave cotton treated with oil or wax using a similar principle can replicate Ventile's reliability. Understanding how the fabric worked under pressure reveals why it outperformed tarps. Ventile wasn't waterproof in the absolute sense, at least not initially. Instead, it resisted water by controlling fibre expansion. When rain hit dry Ventile, the cloth breathed. As the fibres became damp, the weave constricted, reducing airflow and locking out driving rain. This allowed Cold War field operators to maintain body heat while staying dry, a major survival advantage. Tarps, by comparison, don't breathe at all. Anyone who slept under a synthetic tarp in heavy rain knows the condensation problem. Moisture builds underneath, creating a humid chamber that soaks gear from the inside out. Now, a practical example for today's viewers is, well, building a stormproof shelter using a tightly woven untreated canvas as a base and then applying oil or wax to, replicate that water-activated ceiling. By layering 2 panels with an offset seam, You actually achieve the same condensation-reducing effect as those old Cold War field bivvy bags. This method, it was used historically by mountaineers, and honestly, it can be recreated step by step at home. So, let's consider how this cloth transformed Cold War field gear and what we can learn from it today. Ventile wasn't only used in clothing, you see, it shaped everything from observation posts to portable gear packs. Field engineers valued it because it didn't crack in freezing temperatures, a common failure of plasticized tarps, and because it remained quiet. When you're operating near borders, noise discipline truly matters. Flapping nylon or stiff plastic can give away your position. Ventile's soft fibre structure stayed silent in the wind, and that's a subtle but, well, powerful advantage. Survivalists today can use this principle by selecting natural or hybrid fabrics for stealth camping, hunting blinds, or wildlife observation setups. Even when Ventile wasn't available, Cold War teams sometimes mimicked it by double-layering canvas, soaking it in linseed oil-based mixtures and curing it for days. The result wasn't pretty, but it created a watertight, temperature-stable sheet that performed better than most modern store-bought tarps. If someone wants a practical way to apply this knowledge, here's how to make a durable, storm-resistant cloth similar in function to Ventile, even without military-grade weaving. Start with a high thread count cotton canvas or a long staple twill. Wash it in hot water to tighten the fibres, then soak it in a boiled linseed oil and beeswax blend. The oil penetrates, the wax seals microgaps, and once cured for several days in a ventilated space, the fabric develops a semi-rigid, water-shedding property. This isn't identical to Ventile, but it really does echo the Cold War emphasis on mechanically activated protection rather than chemical coatings. Many traditional shelters, from frontier tents to sailing gear, use this method with great success. Now, why does this Cold War cloth deserve a comeback for modern homesteaders and survivalists? Well, Ventile proved that materials don't need to be synthetic to be high performance. In fact, everything about its design speaks to a survival philosophy rooted in reliability, longevity, and simplicity. Tarps tear, plastics decay, coated fabrics delaminate. But the Cold War's Stormproof cloth endured because it worked with nature, not against it. Whether you're building gear for expeditions, preparing for off-grid living, or simply fascinated by the engineering heritage of past generations, learning these materials gives you an advantage that modern convenience has almost erased. If you're new to the channel or enjoy deep dives into historical technology that still beats modern tools, make sure you subscribe, share this video, and help keep this kind of knowledge alive.